Welcome to the Weather Guru's Sunday update of Tropical Storm Ian as it makes its way through the Caribbean here, the Central Caribbean Sea. This is going to be an update as of 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As you can see, we're looking at the water vapor satellite here, the moisture, and we can see Tropical Storm Ian is still very disorganized. It is forecast to rapidly strengthen, and we understand that. The National Hurricane Center says it's going to be a Cat 3 or Cat 4 in the Gulf. We get that. But right now, the center of circulation is very hard to define. The hurricane hunters were out there earlier, and they noted that the center could reform west or southwest to where it's at now. As you can see, most of the heavy convection is on the north and east side of the system here, closer to Jamaica. And it's going into an area now where there's low wind shear, supposedly, and the water is supposed to be this hot 85, 86 degrees. So everything would favor strengthening in the next 24 to 48 hours, right? And people understand that. But the thing that is going to be interesting here, I'm going to show you the sea surface temperature. So you can see 30 degrees Celsius in the Caribbean and a very hot 32 degrees Celsius up here in the Gulf and all of that. The thing that's going to be interesting is this current shear as the system traverses through between the Yucatan and Cuba, western Cuba, and gets into the Gulf, the shear and the jet stream up here is very high. So it's a very good chance the system will weaken before it makes landfall, allegedly, in the Florida Panhandle right now. Only problem that the forecast has right now is that the system, as you can see, you've been seeing this cone on TV, and it's been shifting westward. And the thinking now is that, all the computer models and the consensus is all in the Florida Panhandle, which makes sense because it's going around the periphery of the high pressure system, the Bermuda High or subtropical ridge high. However, the forecast models have been trending westward, and my thinking is that I would say that either from Pensacola to Mobile over to New Orleans, you guys need to pay more attention to this because the cone is shifting more off of Florida and more toward that direction. And that tells me that the subtropical ridge that is stirring the system is a lot stronger than previously thought. And so it's going to take longer for the system to come around that ridge, which means a more westward track to the west of this cone. And also, that would suggest that even though the rapid strengthening is supposed to occur and all of that, if the system can't get vertically stacked, which the Hurricane Center has noted here in this discussion, if it's not going to get vertically stacked, that means it's a slower strengthening than previously thought. Right now, they have it as coming in as over the Gulf, it's 130, 140 mile an hour. That may have to be revised because right now, the system is struggling, and it will be struggling to get together for the next 24 hours here, even though it's in a warm water, low shear environment. The organization of the system right now is not looking very impressive, and that's something to keep in mind. Now, it can change. Obviously, we know rapid intensification could occur, and it could, all that's supposed to happen. But right now, this is what it's saying right here, that the system is not very vertically oriented, and it's not good news. So it must be experiencing some type of shear right now from the north or northeast, from the south or southwest here in the models here, but the models have it strengthening into this system. But right now, we can't get a good fix on it because it's not a hurricane. Once it becomes a hurricane and it has that center closed low core, somewhere up here by the western tip of Cuba, that'll be late Sunday night into Monday morning, then they'll have a better idea of where the models, computer models and everything will have a better idea of where the system's going right now. But as you can see right now, most of the thunderstorms are on the north side of this system, the banding features, okay? And right now, it actually almost looks like it's really falling apart. Like it's either ingesting some dry air, or there's some wind shear coming in, light wind shear coming in from the northwest. There's just a lot going on with Ian right now. And so, yes, Florida, North Panhandle, get prepared, but obviously this system has a long way to go. There's some changes that are going to be made to this forecast, big time changes. And like I said, I expect, looking at the wind shear map and everything, I expect the cone to shift further west today. Okay, we have an 11 a.m. advisory and we have a 5 p.m. advisory. Those are the two big advisories today on a Sunday. And so what I expect, and this is just my opinion, okay, I'm not at the National Hurricane Center. I'm not, it's not the official forecast, okay? So keep watching the official forecast and all of that. We know that. But this is what I'm saying, is that because of the ridge is stronger than anticipated, and because the way the jet stream is oriented up top here, they keep saying this trough is going to be the one that's going to pick the system up and blah, blah, blah. The system, in my opinion, is going to miss the trough and is going to miss the way the orientation is going to miss the cone and go west. Okay, so anybody from Panama City, Pensacola, down to New Orleans, Louisiana, should be concerned about this storm. Okay, because once it gets in the Gulf, it is going to develop into a Category 3 storm because the Gulf has no wind shear over it and all of that. We know that. But once how it interacts with this jet stream up here on the coming across the Florida Panhandle and the I-10 corridor, basically, and that whole region there, is that it could weaken the system. The system will weaken. We don't know how much. It could go from a Cat 3 to a Cat 1 just before landfall, even a tropical storm, depending on how bad the system is organized when it gets there. So if it's very organized and we have a defined eye wall and all of that, and it doesn't go through a eye wall replacement cycle before it gets up into the northern Gulf, it's possible that it can make a landfall somewhere between Pensacola and Louisiana as a Category 1 storm, not a Category 3. So that'd be winds between 90 miles an hour, 90 and 100 miles an hour, supposedly. Well, between 96, something like that, 95 miles an hour. Not at the Category 3, 4 strength. And the reason for that is because, once again, it's going to interact, if it does continue on this northern path, which we know is going to make a landfall somewhere in the northern Gulf Coast, is going to be affected by that trough and the jet stream, tearing it apart at the upper and mid levels. So that means that it's going to be weakening, and it won't be a major hurricane when it makes landfall, unfortunately. So, unfortunately for most people. So now, looking at the cone, we're looking at this cone is going to be shifting westward again. Once again, at the 11 a.m. advisory, look for another westward shift, as the hurricane hunters are having a hard time finding a center of this thing, and the center has been south of due west of this point here. That means that the ridge is much more bigger and stronger than anticipated. So it's going to continue to go west-northwest, and it might even have come across the Yucatan Peninsula. If it does come across the Yucatan Peninsula, we won't know that until late Monday night. Then that means that New Orleans, Mississippi are more into play with this storm. You get what I'm saying? Now, if it continues west-northwest at 12 miles an hour, which is a moderate clip, it's not fast, but it's a moderate clip, and if it slows down on Tuesday afternoon, right, and it's west-northwest at 2 miles an hour, then that means that there's a chance that once it gets into the Gulf, that the more of the play, Pensacola, Mobile, and Mississippi are more into play. But the faster it goes and the less disorganized it is, the weaker storm, the more trend it is going to be toward the west, okay? If it doesn't go through this rapid intensification, which all the signs are there. Like I said, the ingredients, we got the warm water, we got the low wind shear, we know that. But the thing is that the organization of the system right now is the problem. And you can see that clearly on the water vapor here. There's convective banding, yes, but it's all north and east of the center, the actual true center. And we're having a hard time pinpointing the center. The Hurricane Center is saying that the center could reform, but right now we're looking at it, and it just doesn't look very organized and very good. Now that could change. Like I said, there's plenty of real estate right now. There's still a couple hundred miles left of the Caribbean Sea, and then once it gets into the Gulf, of course, everybody knows that has it should have a strengthening chance before weakening on a landfall somewhere. So this has been your 8 a.m. update. I just wanted to bring you up to date on that. I'll come again once again at 11 a.m. once they bring the further update, but expect the shift to the west. And the bottom line is expect the shift to the west of this cone, and also that brings less and less of Florida Peninsula into play. So that's good news, okay? And also it will become a major hurricane in the Gulf. However, once it interacts with this jet stream up here, it's gonna be weakening down to a Category 1 storm and making landfall somewhere west of the Florida Panhandle. That's the bottom line I'm trying to get to you. So we'll talk to more about this at 11 a.m. Thank you for joining me on this Weather Guru channel. Once again, you want to check the official report like I'm doing, but I'm just giving you the analysis of it, where it's coming from, and where the thinking is right now. Of course, the track and the intensity is uncertain, like I said, but once again, the trend is westward, and I believe that this is going to be a storm more for the western parishes, the western counties, anywhere from Pensacola to New Orleans, Louisiana. That's going to be the trend. The cone is going to continue to shift west, and so everybody should get prepared, but that's what it's going to be the trend. So thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on 11 a.m. on further updates later on this Sunday as it becomes available.